Hello, this is Brandon from Delta Packing Company out of Lodi, California. Although we're out of Lodi, I'm currently in the Hanford area, about 3 hours south, taking a look at our southern squash field. So we've got 6 varieties of squash out here that we're currently growing. Our first year doing it, so we have a lot to learn. Down on this end, down there, we've got, starting with banana squash, then we'll have Delicata Squash, green acorn, spaghetti squash, butternut squash, and kabocha. I will show you each variety as we go. I just wanted to do a quick little intro video and show you the overall field and see how gorgeous the canopy is. Let's cut over to banana squash now. We got about 3 acres of banana squash. Kind of walking through here. These things are goofy looking. They're big, they're long, they're a bunch of different colors. These are going to be tough to figure out when they're ripe. I'm going to go based off of stem and the fingernail test as my gauge, because I mean we're still pretty green. I think these have a ways to go, but let's take a look. See this one? These things are massive anyway. I think you really want that dark salmon color, which these don't show. Stems are still pretty green. Looks like the stem is similar to the kabocha, so we'll have a bit of the corking when we know that it's ready. Not very hollow sounding. I'm sure it won't pass the fingernail test. Nope, I go right through on the fingernail test. So these, they're too light. They're big, but they're too light, and the skin is not firm enough. We just walked through a little bit of our banana squash block and none of them look ready. They're goofy looking squash. Looks like a banana, right? See how the color is still pretty light? There's even like a bluish tint. This one broke off, so I grabbed it, but the stem is still really wet, green, light green too, so the stem's not there. Let's do the fingernail test just to see. And my finger went right through it. I don't know if you can see, but it went right through it, so this is definitely not ready yet. I think this one probably has the right next to an air base, so bear with me here. I think this banana squash variety is probably the least mature variety we have out here, so we're definitely going to have to keep monitoring this one, checking. The canopy looks great. I know we got a heat wave going on, but there seems to be pretty good canopy coverage. I don't think we're too concerned about any sunburn on any of these varieties out here right now. But yeah, this is banana squash. So this is the far end. You can see here we're at the end or the beginning, depending on how you want to view it, but this end is about 6 acres of butternut squash. If we look through here, I am starting to see some mixed maturities. We've got a lot of green. We've got a lot of green mixed in with some varieties turning more beige, right? So if you look here, get some sunlight here. If you look here, this one's got some green veins in it still. This one's got a lot of green left in it. The stems are green, and you see those green lines going to the top of the stem. Those need to be almost gone. And then these tendrils right here, see how they're still green? The tendrils actually need to be brown, dry, and break off, kind of like these right here, right? So that shows me that these are not ready yet. And also the green vines are also showing me that these are not at maturity yet, but they are getting close. You can see some of these are turning that beige. This one's still got a pretty long green line going down it, so these definitely aren't ready yet. Stem's starting to turn, let me see here. Stem is starting to turn a little brown, but this one's got a little bit of ways to go. Variety I want to talk about, it's probably the most popular one. That's the butternut, right? What you're looking for is that uniform beige color. You don't want any green. They start out green. I don't have a fully mature one out here to show you fully mature, but I can get you close. At least talk about what we're looking for, right? So this one's got, looks like it's starting to get that uniform color. It's still got some green in it. I don't know if you could pick it up on the camera or not, but there is a shade of green, a tint of green. So this one's not ready yet. The stem is still very green and has some give. So these aren't ready. This is a majority of the butternut squash we have out here. We do have some mixed maturity as well, but most of it's at this point where it's close but not quite there yet. This one has a little better color. The color is uniform. It's just got those dark lines, right? So we're trying to get rid of these dark lines, have them kind of get faded or just non-existent completely. We want that stem brown. I'm sure let's do the fingernail test. My fingernail went right through. So these ones don't pass the fingernail test. These ones aren't ready yet. They're not mature enough. That butternut, if we do have to pick them early, they get to right maturity level, we can pick them early. They'll mature off the vine, but ideally we'd want them just to mature on the vine and not have to worry about it. So we're going to keep monitoring these, and we'll wait for them to get mature. Okay, so now we're going to look at kabocha. First thing I see when I look at our new kabocha acres is the vine, right? The canopy. Canopy is higher than I thought. I didn't know this, but canopy is actually higher and different than the butternut next to it. So that's another thing I've learned. Can't imagine climbing through that right now, but we'll do our best, and we'll take a look at where our kabocha is and if we're close to harvesting our kabocha. So let's take a look. As you can see, these vines are still very green. The canopy is very green. If I had to guess, these won't be ready quite yet. I'm not seeing any of them look like they're starting to die off. But let's take a look and see if we can find some in here. So the first one I came across, still pretty green. Still really green, actually. So we'll take a look and see if we can find any darker ones. See, we got a bunch of mixed variety, or some mixed maturity in here. That one is darker. That one's light green. I'm trying to look for majority because we don't want to come in and harvest multiple times. So we're trying to harvest at the right time where we can get most of these picked. And if we leave some, we leave some. And then go by that. But see, we have another one that's starting to turn darker, but it's still pretty light. See, let's cut one out here and show you. Let's see where this one's at. So this one I grabbed from the field is Kabocha. Notice how it's still pretty green. This one's not ready yet. This one's closer. I grabbed this one, same field. So we got a bunch of mixed maturity out there. So it's a good opportunity to show you kind of the progress and the stages. This one, as you can see, is definitely darker green. It's not as shiny. This spot, it's starting to turn yellow. We want it to be a little darker yellow. Stem is starting to get that corkiness that we talked about, right? The stem needs to be dry and corky. Still pretty green. Still pretty green. I don't think this is quite ready yet, but it's getting closer. Let's go ahead and do the nail test and see. See, I went right through, right? So with the nail test, what that shows is this is not quite ready to harvest. I think it's getting close, but it definitely needs some more time out on the vines to kind of firm up. And then from there, we'll just keep checking it as we go. And as long as the majority of the field is mature, we'll harvest it. So, okay, so what I'm gonna go through now is the spaghetti squash block. As you can see here, pretty luscious green canopy. Let's take a look at them. Find some in here. So right away I can see this one. Pretty white. Probably in the light, it's probably a little bit of green. Stem, pretty green. So this one's definitely not ready. Same with these ones. Now with butternut, kabocha, spaghetti, they will mature a little bit off the vine. So if we do pick them a little early, that's okay. But we don't want to go too early. They still have to be at a certain maturity level in order to mature off the vine. If they're still green, then it's not going to really happen. And we also have the issue with the color. The ones in the sun have the color. The ones in the sun, you can see, have started to get that yellow color, but we still have a lot that are white. So we just walked through the spaghetti squash block. It doesn't look quite ready yet. I tried to find some mature ones to kind of give you an example of mature versus non-mature, but it looks like all I've got is a almost mature spaghetti squash. See how the stem's still pretty green? It's pretty wet. Color is still pretty light. We're still going to need to figure out that canopy issue, make sure we get some sunlight in there. We're going to probably field cure these for 10 days. Let me do the fingernail test at least. So the fingernail test, these are firm, so it does pass a fingernail test, but we're still looking for a lot more color, still looking for a darker brown stem. So these ones quite aren't ready yet. And the good thing with squash is it's not a, one day is not make or break, 1 week's probably not make or break. You can leave them on the vine a little longer if you're worried about maturity levels. So especially with the butternut, the spaghetti, and the kabocha. So we're gonna probably end up keeping these spaghettis on a little longer and kind of maybe see how they are, maybe end of the week, maybe next week, and then we'll kind of gauge, try to estimate when we should harvest so then we can cut the water off. So that's the spaghetti squash. All right, so now I'm in the Delicata block of winter squash here in Hanford, and we've got some mixed maturity. So this one's gonna be a little tougher to figure out when to harvest. We might have to do 2 passes on this one. We've got a lot of, I'll show you right now, we got a lot of green ones that aren't ready, and then we've got some that are starting to color up and be pretty close. See, that stem's pretty dark green. Those lines have gotten darker. Cut this one off for you. See, this one's not quite ready yet. See, those lines are not the dark solid green. The color's a little light. See, that stem is bleeding still. Okay, we just got done looking at the Delicata, so I wanted to show you, like the other ones, a little bit of the difference between the maturity levels. So this one is one that's not ready. See how it's light in color? Those lines are not dark and defined. Let's see the fingernail test. Yep, thing goes right through without any problems. That one, not ready. This one is a fully mature Delicata hard squash. See how the colors are dark and defined, the lines, the stripes. Stem, hard, dry, and let's take a look at the fingernail test. Yep, I can leave a little bit of an indent, if you can see that, but I'm not piercing through the skin. So this shows me that this is a fully ripe Delicata. Now, when do we harvest our Delicata? That's going to be a little tricky because there's a lot of mixed maturity, a lot more mixed maturity than the other varieties we have here. So that's going to take a little more research, a little more hands-on approach. We're going to have to check the field probably more frequently, and we might end up having to do a couple passes for harvest. Okay, up next we have the green acorn block. Now the first thing I noticed with the green acorn is the vines are almost kind of like bushes. It doesn't seem like they run as continuous vines like the butternut and the kabocha. These more resemble bushes. So if you see what I mean here, kind of here's a green acorn bush, this one's a bush, and see how we can actually walk down the rows. So that's something I've learned as one of the differences for green acorn. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the green acorn. Everything is the same with green acorn except the curing process. Acorn squash is the only one that I've seen that we grow that shouldn't be cured, because curing actually ruins or shortens the shelf life, because green acorn is actually ready to eat right off the vine. So that's the main difference between acorn and the other winter squash we grow that I've seen. Let's talk a little bit about the green acorn squash. This one right here, just to show you a little bit of the maturity levels. This one's obviously not ready, still light green, stem's got some give. I'm sure it won't pass the fingernail test. And then we've got these dark green ones. So notice how a good characteristic of a mature green acorn squash: dark green, not shiny, got that green stem to matches the skin. This one doesn't have a spot, this one does. You want that orange, a dark orange spot, you want that dark green color, and then the biggest thing is the fingernail test. So we'll do that right now. See if it penetrates. Nope, it barely even leaves an indentation. So this proves to me that now a majority of the crop looks like this. So that shows me that this is probably going to need to be harvested pretty soon. Like I talked about earlier, green acorn shouldn't be cured, so these ones will go right into our cold storage about 55 degrees. I think it's 70% humidity. So we'll keep them in there. We'll sell them as soon as the other varieties kind of come off and mature, kind of sell them together and go from there. So that's the green acorn.